Linear functions is one of those units in math that kind of drags on. There's a lot to cover in the unit. You got 3 different forms of linear functions you got to write out: slope intercept, standard, and point slope. In this video, I'm going to break them all down specifically when it comes to word problems. What is it you're looking for to decide, should you write it like this, write your equation like that, or should your equation look like slope intercept form by the time you're done? So my students right now, they're in the thick of it, and everybody knows they love it when it snows. You know all that weird stuff. So right now we're in the middle of this unit, and we've really covered these 2 right here, but I'm noticing my students don't have a strong understanding quite yet of when should you write it in standard versus when should you write it in slope intercept. I'm going to give you a couple of scenarios, a couple of examples. We'll break it down. When should we write it here? When should we write it like this? And finish with point slope form. So let's start with slope intercept. The big thing you got to understand is that B is going to be your starting point or your initial value. There's got to be some kind of a beginning with slope intercept. And then your slope, how that changes from the beginning, is your M. So B is your starting point or your initial value, your beginning, and then your slope is how you're changing over time or whatever the other variable may be. Here's a couple of examples of slope intercept form. I could tell you that you already have 580 baseball cards. Immediately, you're starting with 580, so you could put that down as your y-intercept. We have 580 baseball cards. But because you're a nice person, you like to distribute baseball cards out to your buddies. Every week, you guys sit down at the lunch table and you pull 5 cards out for your 3 friends. Well, that would be 5, 10, 15. So every week you're giving away how many cards? That's right, 15. So you're going to either lose or gain 15 cards every week. X would be representing weeks. And since we're giving cards away, our 580 is going to drop. It's going to go down. So we're going to have a negative 15 there. So we're losing 15 cards every week. But remember, we started with 580. Because I was given a starting point and then a change, this would be a slope intercept form equation. And that right there would be the equation for the scenario. You could figure out how long it would take you before you ran out of cards. You could figure out, hey, 7 weeks from now, just put a 7 there, multiply it by negative 15, and then take that value away from 580. You could say 7 weeks from now, I'm only going to have this many cards. Maybe you don't want to drop your card collection that low, so maybe you're not giving away 15 anymore. These are decisions for you to make as a human being. Okay? Here's another scenario. We are already 1,700 feet above sea level. So that's a starting point. So we are 1,700 feet above sea level, and we continue our hike. We continue hiking at a constant rate of 25 more feet of elevation every minute. So if we were traveling 25 feet every minute, X is representing minutes, 25 feet gained, that's why it's positive. So we are going higher and higher up the mountain on our hike. Okay, and that would be slope intercept form. How do I know it's slope intercept form? I was given a starting point and then a rate of change thereafter. So when do we go and we switch from slope intercept to standard? What I tell my students is standard form is almost always going to be 2 items and a total. If you are given 2 items and a total, you are basically being told, put that thing in standard form. Okay, here's an example. Let's say bananas, apples and bananas, are $2 a pound. Oranges are $3 a pound, and we spent $58 at the store. Just making up some information for you real quick. All right, well, if this is the case, if we spent $58, that's a total. We've got 2 different items, bananas and oranges. So what we would do is we would set up an equation in standard form for this. We would say every banana is $2. So 2 times however many bananas we're purchasing plus $3 for every pound of oranges that we're purchasing is a total of $58. We've now got a standard form equation representing this scenario of going to the store and buying bananas and oranges at different price points. Okay, so 2 different items and a total. Slope intercept, starting point and a rate of change. Starting point, rate of change. Standard form, 2 items and a total. Let me give you another scenario of 2 different items. Maybe you are a part of a club and you're like, hey, we should have t-shirts, right? We're the chess club. We want everybody to know we are the kings and the queens. We win. Checkmate, baby. Okay, you want to make some t-shirts, but some of the kids want long sleeve t-shirts. Some of the kids want short sleeve t-shirts. Those would be two different items. So let's say short sleeve, SS, short sleeve, those are going to be $8 a pop. And then our long sleeve, LS, those are going to be $12 a pop. More expensive for a long sleeve shirt than a short sleeve shirt. You guys know that in the real world, okay? And we have a budget. Our budget is, let's say, 220 bucks. We got $220 to spend on t-shirts for our club, and we want, some of you are going to want short sleeve, some of you are going to want long sleeve. So we need to write a standard form equation so we can figure out combinations of t-shirts. I want to be able to look at the club members and be like, hey, we only have enough money. If we're going to buy all long sleeve, we can only get this many. There's too many of us in the club. Not everybody would get a shirt. Or vice versa. Hey, if everybody wants short sleeves, we have enough for everybody in the club. Or maybe some of you want long sleeve, some of you want short sleeve. We create an equation saying 8x plus 12y equals 220. And then what we can do is play around with this equation and figure out, can I get 6 short sleeve and 20 long sleeve? Is that even doable? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. That's for you to figure out, right? But right now, this video is all about just setting up the equations. I was given 2 items and a total. Immediately, my brain goes to standard form equation. I plug in the information for the 2 different items. I put the total on the other side of the equal sign, and we are good to go. Now, when it comes to point slope form, you're not going to be given a starting point. You're just going to be given a random point of piece of information. You might be told that 2 of something purchased was $16. 4 of something purchased was $18. And then 6 of something purchased is $20. So if you're given this information, you're never given a starting point where 0 is this. Okay, that would be a starting point where x is 0. But in this case, we're not given that. So we're just given random pieces of information. We've got an x, we've got a y, x, y. And we're going to use those 2 pieces of information given, and we're going to plug them in where x1 and y1 is. And then remember, we can find the rate of change by doing our change in y over our change in x. So 18 to 20, we're going up 2. 4 to 6, we're going up 2. So my slope is change in y over change in x, which is 2 over 2, which is equivalent to 1. 1 is going to be my m in that case. So I'm going to start writing this equation out. I'm going to say y minus, I'm going to put an equal sign there and leave that empty for the time being. Slope is 1, so I'm putting a 1 in. X minus, now I need to put a number in here and a number in here, and I can steal that information from any of these numbers. Now, if I use 18, I'm going to have to use 4. If I use 20, I'm going to have to use 6. If I use 16, I'm going to have to use 2. So just make sure you're using corresponding points. So let's use 16 in this case for y. y1's right here, so I'm going to put a 16 down. Over here, I'm going to put the 2 because that was the x value when y was 16. I've now got an equation written out in point slope form. And the reason I wrote this in point slope form is because they didn't give me a starting point. They started me with 2 in already. Whatever those variables are, it doesn't matter. They didn't give me 0. I didn't get a starting point like I would with the slope intercept. So let's break it down one more time. Starting point, rate of change, slope intercept form. Standard form is going to be 2 different items. I like to do this a lot in class. I'll be like 2 different items. This and this goes together to make the total. Okay. And then point slope form is you're given random pieces of information with a rate of change thereafter. Okay. You're going to have to find the rate of change more often than not, but those values will be given to you most of the time. Hopefully this makes sense. Study hard and good luck on your upcoming test.